It's not good for privacy. It's not good at all.
I didn't see chat. It's gone.
Sorry about that, Al Damien. We are watching. Happy that you're here.
I mean, I think it's just important to have.
Thank you for joining the conversation.
I missed
I agree.
whatever somebody
I
was
understand
trying to
there
tell
are
me. I
lots of
missed
ways
it.
to use tools, you
Oh,
know.
you switch to another.
No, we're still on.
No,
We're at.
I dropped my stream for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
accidentally pressed the wrong button.
We're at PM Beers for Ustream viewers. We're also can we identify globalrevolution.tv. Rise PDX is doing it on his. What's the name of his channel?
Rise PDX.
Rise PDX. No, his channel is Occupy P-Town.
Oh yeah.
Occupy P Town.
UK watching.
UK watching. We want to be able to name all these people because all these people are involved in our discussion that we've been like.
Yeah.
That's been going
See
on
if
all
we
day.
can get some
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any questions from the outside? Because if we're
Yeah,
going to
let's
do that,
bring
we might
them
as
in.
well like,
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
people specifically.
We should look at.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd
we're-
like to hear. I mean, what I haven't heard, I'm not familiar with what you did for, during Occupy Wall Street, for instance,
All right. Yeah, he's a
or
good
since
man.
then, or what you're planning to do over the next year. So
Sure.
I'd be curious to hear if you had any social media features enabled already, how you were handling stream aggregation.
Well,
Have you
I'm
given a
showing-
demonstration yet?
What does that mean, stream
We're gonna do it in
aggregation?
Okay.
context.
That means either a central place
That's
where,
what you're-
bringing
you're
strings
doing.
together such that you can either select between them or spatially compose them into multiple frames within a window,
Hey, Vlad's about to demonstrate.
Okay.
exactly
or
that.
switch between them.
I never
Oh,
know
yeah.
what words that is. Like,
What's that?
I never know when Global Rev has my stream. I never know the vocabulary to describe that.
Oh, I'm being mirrored. You see mirror?
Yeah. Embedded another. And your Ustream is delivering
You
the
are
code.
Global Rev. Just on.
Just to be well aware of that, right?
You're on it.
And they're not always the most reputable
No,
company
you
in the
said
world.
put
I'm,
the
you
stream
know,
and put, like, the text
and
below.
I don't really appreciate doing business with them. I'd rather give them some money to do what we're doing.
It's
If I knew that I could trust them.
It's not unfair, you know what I'm
But
saying?
the genuinely the user comments about their company, right? They totally censor it.
Part of the Global
And to
Rev.
me, that's not a good business model, and I'm not going to give any money that's like going to try to do that to me when I am honestly paying them reasonable amount of money in expectation for a good service, right?
Well, let's-
And if I can't criticize somebody about the way they're delivering my files to the internet and point out that maybe you need to check on this on your system, right? If I can't do that freely on your website, well, then I don't want to be a part of what social network that you're trying to set up, right? Because it's all about consent. And kind of constantly people are, well, I don't want to sit here and go into a rant because Vlad's about ready to give a demonstration of some of his technology.
I would say
he's
that
been
rant's
working
still
on.
it's on topic though because it's talking about live
Yeah, well,
streaming,
I'm,
framing issues.
yeah, and-
but he is as
And
forward.
you guys talk about performing and stuff. It's not it's not always like the thing that I'm trying to perform for people or anything like that. And I'm not trying to validate what I'm saying, but I want to just ensure that the conversation is continued. I think it's really important that we open up a dialogue, right? And I've been actually successful, and I encourage people to do this out on the street, right? And this is part of a thing that we are working on. I think is that we need to engage the public with what we're doing, right? And we can do that with live streams, and what is really nice in the way that we can empower people is to let them know that other people are also there, right? And that because we're just in this room in meet space having a conversation, the same exact conversation is going on in other places all around the world, and people are sitting in their living rooms totally powerless and trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do on a planet that's gone mad, right? And this is one way of enabling people to be able to have a conversation in their community wherever they go, because you have friends everywhere, right? The whole world is watching, right? That's a statement from the 60s, right? And it's as true now as it ever was, right? And we're trying to get people to do more than just watch, right? We're trying to get people to organize in their communities, and what Vlad's going to be able to explain is how to do this and how this is possible.
Right.
Good segue.
Let's start with the fusion. So, what do we sort of set up, or I've been involved with, we set up systems with different action groups, share access to Twitter accounts with certain protocol. Like you tweet from your old, from whatever account, but use all the other ones to retweet it. Okay? And it's not set to be some kind of official thing or anything like that. It's set up to be a collaborative thing of people who trust each other, right? In groups that trust each other, and it's not meant to be too large. Right? We can get as big as 30 people even, if they have good forms of communicating with one another. If they have a Google group they actually respond to, as opposed to like never looks at. If they actually engage in communication, then you
Where's
can
that?
go pretty bigger because then you can negate whatever misunderstandings that arise if people are not speaking to one another. Right? But what if it's very positive because it forces people to coordinate messaging and figure out how to frame ideas, especially on Twitter, because Twitter puts this extremely nasty limitation of 140 characters in you.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to express complex ideas sometimes. And
Yeah, 140 characters.
sometimes it's a good idea to actually brainstorm how to say something. So anyway, at the same time we basically there's a network out there where the last 2 years of revolt, activists all over the world know each other, right? And it exists at the point where you see it. For example, if you go on Facebook, Global Occupy Media Group, it has like 900 people. That group is like a very interesting example because the way that group works is that you join the group and whatever, there's an event there. Whatever there's news for today. If you post stories in that event, it's open submission system. People are encouraged to post like stories from what's happening in the local community that's relevant. And what gets generated is this page that gets diffused everywhere, full of blurbs from each story. And it's a diffusion for everyone manual in the movement, because you just go in, it's already pre-screened, like best of by different activists. It could easily be spam, but it hasn't.
This is actually kind of the same way that we, with the blogs, set up our feeds. You can actually have a blog feed. You can consolidate feeds.
Sure.
And then you can have.
No, but what we're trying to do is actually imagine a huge group of people doing self-curation.
Right. But you're doing
Collaborative curation.
Right.
Because they're submitting the best thing that describes their community or what's happening with their thing to the global audience. Right? Which means, like, if you explain the story to a person who lives in San Francisco, you can take a certain amount of assumption of knowledge of basic history. The person who lives in New York City would not have.
Right.
Unless they were studying like the history of California for whatever, academic.
And so you're saying that you're curating based on the
We ask
completeness
people
of a story that has the background information
It's
embedded
an
in it.
open system. It's a neutral open space, right? And we decided we're going to put up with sometimes crap going in there, because what we're presenting to everyone is this web page where they can choose what to share from. So we're assuming that the users who are going to be sitting in front of the Fusion consoles will be able to filter out the crap.
Right. People need to be able to curate and share their curation. Do you understand what
You
I
get
mean
too
by
much
that?
information. You get too much information.
Right, but I'm saying people need to be able to do their own curation and share their curation. The idea being that if somebody else is a really good curator, you might want to subscribe to their curation. And if you're a good curator, then you should do your own curation.
There's a lot but that's the thing. There's now a million ways to skin that cat, right? All of them. We don't know which one works, and people should experiment with
And none of them which you can trust.
No.
But the tools are there now. That's
The
the
tools are there, right?
Which
like-
algorithm?
It's like working on a
It's
hot
actually
rod.
tricky
We
because
need to
every
use
algorithm
the
they've been
tools
trying to
and
game it.
work out the kinks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You put the control in the individual to curate for themselves, and you allow people to decide
Right.
how they want to do that. And that way,
Well, anyway,
you're not
it just becomes a
forcing
small
them.
engineering problem actually, how to communicate. But the basic.
A million is probably too many, but I mean we could probably reduce it to 10 basic strategies or something. You're arguing for one of them. Yeah, and we should. I think it'd be great. Over the long term, I would love to have a space where we're, creating lists of these, trying to reduce the space down to a manageable amount of possibilities.
still don't hear.
I understand. Obviously, we can't do that in one sitting down here, but that would be a longer term goal for me to feel like I'm engaged in the sort of, design
No, it's
space.
about it's about getting. Usually whenever you do, it's about getting stuff done. Actually, if you want to do something. So the whole point is that, for example, Clark had a very interesting experience a week ago. It was really funny. He showed up at an Israeli consulate and said, "I'm going to live stream. Like there's something going on in Gaza. Actually, nothing in all the details, but it worked apparently really well. It created quite a commotion just about why she was showing up.
It was just four of us. It was me and Punk
Yeah,
Boy
well, imagine-
and who was the other one? Clark. It was just four of us.
Casper was there. I think.
Was it Casper?
Kid from New York.
It was Casper. It was Casper and Punk Boy and me and Clark.
Sunday
right?
Ghost?
What? Casper.
No, I'm saying that action against Gaza.
The bottom line is you can do a lot of creative stuff because you can be writing someone doing it like a projection action or like a choking action.
That was
like
really
the
cool.
guys
Man.
do.
We had like 4 people there on site. and we were getting all kinds of comments from everyone walking by, and we were gaining followers who were like really interested in what we were doing on the live stream. And then like the cool part is you get the real world networking at the same time. So it's like people come like what's going on, and they see you, but like you're not just there with a sign. You're there with a guy with like all this equipment, and you know, it seems silly, but honestly, like just Clark having that little monopod and the little clip for his phone makes it look so much more professional, you know? And like me right now, I got to use this thing handheld. If I've got my Steadicam mount, people look at me like so much more seriously. So when you
assume
see
you're media, they assume which
Right.
you are. I mean,
But when
you're independent media. But
when
you're
you see somebody filming that, it
Right.
gives the activism a dimension of credibility that it didn't have. Even if they don't know who that media person is, they're like, wow, somebody's paying enough attention to point a camera at it. It must be something.
Right.
That was a non sequitur to me though in the discussion, because we were talking about how one curates a sort of global space, both for archive stories as well as real-time stories, what algorithms we use to select among them, and then I was saying, well, and then I said, well, it would be great to have a space where we could compare strategies for those, because you were acting as if yours was the best one. He was saying maybe it's not the best one. No, we don't. I'm not.
There is no best.
Even
Yeah.
this is a discussion where we start to suggest those, but really we just need people at least need to know what the options are, as well as to understand what's currently being used. And then we jumped into talking about. He said, "Oh, we need to do things," and I'm saying, well, sure, people build websites and they pick among one algorithm, but the thing about transparency is it's not just deciding how you create something, but it's exposing the design decision, because that allows other people to evaluate it, even if they decide not to work with that project. They say, I'm not going to be part of this global aggregation project, creating my own global aggregator. But if they at least understand your design logic and can see as much of the behind the scenes decision making, then they can make a principled, they can say, oh, well, your algorithm it's too gameable. In fact, in analyzing the content you've been showing, I can see that, you know, the people in New York have been winning out. I can see that they're pushing one agenda, and we need San Francisco needs more coverage or something, or we need to not just focus on economic inequality, but we need to focus on the environment as well. And we think your algorithm is biased in this way. So by looking at both how it plays out, as well as if you have a lot of the design decisions behind, then you can perhaps create a new solution, or that presents the ability, and that's where the meta thinking comes in. It's not just doing it, but it's really facilitating the highest levels of discussion, which I'm afraid that's what I feel like is missing. Fantastic, and that's what I'm pushing for in this conversation. Always, what are the biggest questions? Sure, you can't address them all at one time, but if you don't acknowledge them first, then it just feels so disconnected. And I feel like we're really kind of recreating a lot of the same problems that we're seeing in society, which have to do with short-term thinking, thinking within the existing frameworks, being practical, all these kinds of things. Sure, that's important, but that the visionary thinking, the constant questioning, the asking the big questions, challenging each other, and thinking not only in the practical but also in the abstract areas is super important.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's no one true website or one true algorithm. There's so many different ways to do a thing, and even if you might find a particular algorithm to be particularly fair or unfair, somebody else might feel differently because they use it differently. There's different use patterns for everything. So I think the most important thing is to be as open source as possible, to share as much as possible about both how you're doing what you're doing and the raw material that people can use for their own algorithms, their own use on their own website. So if this media is all being put out there in a Creative Commons or other open source type of a license, then you don't have to agree with the aggregation strategy. You can look at it and you can analyze it, and as much as is disclosed about it as possible, the more information that you have to be able to decide on either that or a different algorithm for your own particular taste, which other people may share. So if you find a particular way of doing and presenting that's different than what Vlad or somebody else is doing, then you should. You should have the ability to do it. That's the most important thing. Because under the the old model, you don't have the ability to do it because it's all kind of
Central control.
centrally controlled and copyrighted in such a way that you're not allowed to remix it. And here you can. Here you can take it and you can create your own
So,
version of it.
The reality of all the actors media that came out about OES right now is that it has very low viewership. Okay? So it's not like, oh my god, like this media is doing all that great. If you look at all these live streams, they have like 12 viewers, you know what I'm saying? It's like nothing.
That's why when everyone says the whole world's watching, I'm like, bullshit, dude. Why are we deluding ourselves?
The whole
Well,
world is able to watch. That's
Yeah,
important.
that's a very different thing, though.
Because
Well,
here's
for
the
a
thing.
while, a lot of people in a lot of countries were watching.
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
10,000 viewers is still,
Dude,
you know, we're
it's
talking
huge
about
because we're not
roughly
producing-
6 orders of magnitude
but hold on,
off
there's a
in the
fundamental
global
reason.
population.
I have a better way, I have a way of addressing this, which is move forward. There are fundamental flaws with live stream, for example. For example, in order to get what's going on, you have to watch the whole thing. I mean, if you're going to sit there and watch a live stream for 4 hours,
Yeah.
hold on, 4 hours, why aren't you down there?
Well, you might be in
No,
another
No, no, no,
country.
4 hours. So there's a contradiction there, right? To some degree. Now, people take.
There's
on
a
the way
lot of
to work,
reasons why you're not
They
there.
read their their phone for news or something like that, right? Like they take information in, a lot, 90% of people in our society, in short bursts, in very short articles, right? Do we have people creating those? To some degree on Twitter, but Twitter is so instantaneous, boom, bam, we're gone, right? But so if we actually were creating something like that on a consistent basis that could work for people in these bursts of information, which is basically a short article with some video embedded or whatever.
I mean,
the one about-
Facebook is maybe better than Twitter for some of that too. I mean, they can both be tools. You don't rely too much on because they're corporate.
Facebook is cool, but I've been doing a lot of Facebook activism in the last year.
Me? Yeah.
We had a lot of problems, like serious problems,
You mean
Facebook.
censorship?
Yeah.
like hardcore problems,
We had problems.
like accounts
with-
security.
Yeah, when March Against Monsanto, we had straight.
Yeah, that was
We got
cool.
straight hacked, too.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
were running campaigns at the same time that they were doing it with screenshots and everything, so that stopped. And that's what happens when you collaborate with a shitload of people. You get amazing things.
Yeah.
So, March Against Monsanto is a perfect example of how that thing came together.
I've mostly been a cannabis activist, and they've not censored me for what it's worth. So it just happens that they censor certain things and not other things.
Totally true.
I mean, I'm not justifying in any way. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm just saying that it can be a tool and it could be something that's not useful. So
Ability to get around censorship?
you need other ways to spread your information relying upon Facebook.
I think you'd probably look at
Of course,
Facebook
yeah, of
as
So
a
you
mirror.
can still use it.
I
as
think
We're not
you'd want to
saying-
have another primary system, and Facebook could essentially mirror the content.
Exactly.
in some
Facebook
way.
can be one of your means that you don't rely upon as your only means.
Okay.
That's-
There's another thing. Like right now, the vast majority of people are on Facebook. So it's like the de facto white pages of our society.
It'll
Okay?
reach a lot of people.
So fine, we'll have to use it. Okay? But what if we're gonna plan actions, if we're gonna talk about something, if we're gonna talk to our girlfriend or boyfriend, if we wanna be private, maybe we shouldn't be talking use Facebook chat application because we know there's some guy sitting in Utah jerking off to it right now, right?
I think anybody's chat if they know the URL. I don't think there's any security.
I don't know, who knows? What kind of-
Well, that's a big discussion though. Is security possible?
Of course, but it has to
Only
be
with
super
your
legit.
own encryption on your own system.
On your own server. We have to
your own
get a system.
server. If you don't have
install
control
a
over all
program when
those
you're running your own
parts.
server, and people who trust you communicate through your server.
Yeah.
With hand-passed, very strong encryption keys.
It's not even hand pass. You can generate very strong encryption keys.
But unless you
Yeah.
control
That's
all
all
the
encryption now, it's just
all
pretty
the
good.
steps.
Are you gonna show people how you get global revolution up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Well,
the demo because I'm about to run out of battery.
Yeah. Show people how you get global revolution.
Your last
How
one?
you do it, right? Step
I have
by step,
one,
just
but-
like you showed me
okay.
yesterday.
It is 9:30 now.
It's past your bedtime.
I'm falling asleep.
we can make coffee.
No, I had one today already.
Okay.
I would be up all night.
It's not a 24
It's
hour.
very hard to watch the screen actually, unfortunately. Let me see if I can change the resolution. So, I'm going to start over actually,
Yeah. Show people how you do
from the
it.
beginning.
Yeah, this is very informative.
So, we've created, can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've created this cluster of these machines basically that sort of sit on the internet at various places, which allow anyone to like the people who gonna do this kind of stuff, like try to set up these channels to cover the movement, whatever. They can log in and use those machines to mix the signals, and the machines have relatively fast internet, There's a big problem when you do this mixing is you need actually very fast upload speeds to actually get a good signal out. So a lot of people like sitting at home, they don't have that fast of an internet to actually broadcast the channel. It needs to be like at a certain speed, right? So that's been a huge limiting factor for people participating as mixers because they need a fast internet, or they would run up huge internet charges and get, like all the internet plans now come with caps. So people who are mixing constantly run into like internet bandwidth issues, right?
So mixing is any agent who wants to either mirror or combine someone else's
or
streams.
context and give context. The whole point is to give context. You see, these even though the streamers are sometimes excellent at describing the action, they're still living and describing it in this like I'm doing this for 4 hours straight format, right?
Yeah.
And that might not be the best format to create a viral video that tells the whole story.
Oh, okay. So it's video editing even. It's not necessarily just.
So yeah, these are
mirroring the real-time
workstations. These are
stream.
virtual workstations, but they share the same files. And basically, the whole point is like we've set this up. You can set up like 5 of those on a $500-600 like desktop computer, and people can log into your thing, right? So it could be massively decentralized. Every Affinity group can run their own cluster where they collaborate for wherever they are.
And mixing also implies more than just editing a single video. It means you can combine, parts of multiple.
It's like
videos.
DJing reality, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's like DJing or DJing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like
No, I was just trying to get a sense of what you meant by the term.
no, because because you have all these citizen journalists out in the streets.
I want to DJ
Capturing.
reality.
You have all these digital journalists on the streets everywhere capturing what's going on, like with Ustream, Bambuser, or whatever, doesn't matter. So you just tell people, just install this app and you're capturing reality, right? You now need to create teams of people who can process this information and make something more useful out of it, because very few people are capable of taking the onslaught of these simultaneous narratives and make any sense out of it.
Not everybody can be a DJ. Not everybody's a good
Yeah,
DJ.
and if everyone was DJ, we need people in the streets. I mean, it's also what are we doing, right? We need to. It's about informing people, but also it's allowing people. With this live stream, we need to create ways of people plugging in, even though they're not physically there.
Yeah.
But figure out a way how to plug
So
in.
you need basically a DJ platform.
More than that, and we need a collaborative platform. We need and we need to discuss with collaborative, whatever. We can say it needs to be very open, right? So people can copy it, because it's not about creating some institution, right? You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. And it's all about throwing in ideas in your local community, because this is actually San Francisco, right? You go 1 or 2 degrees of separation. It's going to be like if we can seduce some people who are working for Twitter and whatever to work on this, and they will. There's a lot of guys there who's like,
They got a paycheck though too. So.
Yeah, but they can do 2 jobs at the same time. I did that myself for a while. You can do one thing and the
And they're
other.
definitely concerned about their job security.
No, it's not job security. It's also idealism. I mean, maybe you want to play.
I don't know how much idealism there is in the local sort of
Twitter.
Twitter employee group.
Yeah.
There's sort of a bunch
I
of
think everybody has a soul. So
self-entitled.
just say something like
Yeah,
that.
we'll just say I'm like the average dude, but I'm trying to get onto the web.
Let's
and-
keep it
that's
focused. I mean,
So
we've
that's
got the
basically-
Right. There's the
software,
design. There's how you implement it. There's man-hour estimates, and then there's feasibility for
Just like
how
if
you
you're
can
a noob
reduce
on getting on the web.
cost.
No, there's
Also
that.
the
No,
questions.
there's that. There's basically like figure out his calendar of all the shit going on in the Bay Area. Honestly,
Right, yeah,
Like,
AnyBay.org
among 5
is a
people,
really
right?
good source for
Have
that.
a-
Have one kid that's like a camera or whatever. And
Totally check it
and
out.
one other person in your group who's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna like manage coordinating everything on that day, and you have your 2-person team that just covers who.
Yeah.
It's a media crew. It's just like
But immediately we're using this collaboration and try to be more horizontal.
Right,
Now-
it's project management oriented.
no, but the thesis is you have to keep it horizontal. The thesis is it's a lab then, where you get to explore how do you keep it horizontal and more powerful than the corporation.
I'm saying, man, show us the lab.
Yeah, let's get on.
No, okay.
Well, it's not done yet, right? So
No, the lab is
Yeah,
done.
just setting
It's
up.
there. It's there.
The lab is
we're
done.
working.
Like right now, we're mixing actual global web. We're mixing cross signal
Right.
on one of these computers.
Show people how you do it, right? People want to know, right?
So yeah, you connect using TeamViewer. Right now
but
we
it
use
does
TeamViewer.
everything you've talked about so far. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Have a look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
All it is just a remote computer you're controlling.
Yeah, let him
That's
focus
actually
on
doing the
his-
mixing.
on what he's doing here.
So the whole point behind it is that, first of all, it's mixing computer, right? So you basically have 4 monitors, because when you're mixing live streams, each live stream takes a certain amount of space, and they're actually pretty high res. So if you have just like one monitor, you can maybe display one live stream, but not 3 at the same time. You actually need to display them, because you're actually doing physical screen grabbing.
Yep.
You're actually running software that captures your screen and your audio, and you broadcast that into the internet.
Yeah, show people
You're
what you're
basically
talking
pirating the the feed, like physically, like not pirating like illegal because it's Creative Commons, but you're physically just taking what you want and putting it into your
Video rip.
into your remixing software.
And he's explaining this to you in MeetSpace, and now he's going to demonstrate online how to do
No,
this.
so it's very simple. So what's happening over here right now? I can actually go to and just set up a new scene. You basically log into this like virtual computer for pretty much anywhere if you want. So you're no longer constrained. You can set up a mixing schedule who covers what without worrying if that person has hardware or not. You just use whatever they have.
It's a web-based
Browser.
remote.
It's a client. It's a
Right.
GUI client, but all you need is just like Tesla's download, which is like 1 megabit, whatever. Most people actually have that.
I understand.
So anyway, you have this is your with that big square in the middle is basically your screen that you're gonna broadcast when you start broadcasting, right? So this particular computer is actually set up to be 4 monitors. Like these are the 4 monitors, so you can do whatever layout you want. Right. So you see in the second monitor we have Patty's stream right now.
Right.
And there's a delay of about 20 seconds. So this is it, right? So we go to the first monitor. We add a It's a screen region. You have to look really close because everything's shrunk.
There's also latency for people that are watching. There's a latency in the
Well, it's
infrared.
tiny. You have to get used to it, but
Yes.
whatever.
It's better to have a laser mouse if you have one.
No, it works. You can get used to anything.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
Boom, and then you just select the screen region you're
It
gonna
doesn't
capture.
What, a laser mouse?
No, you don't need a laser mouse. It's okay.
I don't know, helps with me. Having a rolling wheel is like what rules.
Anyway,
Selecting
you're selecting the region you're gonna broadcast. Whatever, I didn't do perfect selection. You go. This is just scrolls through the regions. So, and you just maximize it.
Yeah, this is a little tricky here because you don't always see it, as you can see from the screen.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's pain in the ass.
Right, and basically what you have to remember is that when you're on Ustream, and that's what we're doing right now, is that that there's going to be a box that's going to be outside of your live stream, right? That's about 120 pixels on each side. So be aware of that, and it'll make it easier to grab it. And also remember to press the Shift key while you're doing the screen grab, because that'll keep everything in the dimension that it was meant to be displayed in.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of tips and tricks. I mean, like the whole point is to make Wikis stuff and get a lot of this information out.
Well, this
But
is
on
just, you know,
On a most fundamental level, though, like the actions that happen now, which are not covered by anyone, right? That's another thing. Like, it should become a common knowledge that all action groups should be making their own media team and figuring out how they want to present the thing. Because if we don't present it ourselves as any actors, they'll present it for us.
nobody's going to know about it.
So that's what's giving the extreme. I said even Vibe actually have media team, or people who participate. Even, you know what I'm saying? It goes all the way. So it's not like the whole idea should we have media or not. Of course, everyone should have media because everyone should be thinking about how do they communicate. That's all. Versus
we're
not
here
thinking about it at all.
Well, that's what the whole thing is about. Using personal technology to help empower political groups and activists.
And not even political science, it's just self-empowered people, period.
Yeah, period, right?
Yeah.
See, I'm a kind of, I believe
She
that.
said that the stream keeps freezing.
Yeah?
Maybe I should reset it.
Your
Okay.
boundaries.
So the thing I
Alright,
haven't seen
guys.
yet, you were talking about the ability